How's it going, everybody? This is Ryan here. This is going to be my first video voice over some of my hitting sessions during the week. And the first person I want to dive into is Angie. Angie is currently in college. Right now, she's in Monroe College and she's looking for a 4-year transfer. She has some schools in mind. And Angie has always been a really hard worker, super athletic, super strong. Was one of the top hitters in her high school, all throughout travel ball. She's a big competitor. Comes from really good baseball, softball DNA. Her brother played for the Pittsburgh Pirates as well. But we're diving into her swing here. This is a screen recording of the Trackman Baseball App. So basically, we had an opportunity to just get a little idea of not only just how hard she's hitting the ball and have an idea of her exit velo, but I also love the video analysis tool, just being able to have video as well as those metrics. So here's the new theater mode view that the baseball app has here on the Trackman Baseball app. And one of the things that I saw during the front toss sessions is I felt that when it came to the timing between when I was front tossing the ball and Angie's point of contact, I just felt like she was getting, quote unquote beat, but it was clearly to see not only in the quality of contact that she had on the ball, but also you can also just see with the naked eye just that she wasn't able to get the barrel through the zone. It's like she wasn't just able to whip the barrel through the zone. And I think a lot of it has to do with, if you see her hands on this set position right here. So right now she's starting in a position where ideally I usually recommend, right? It's kind of like on the high point, similar to Otani, other hitters, where I always feel that when you want to focus more on engaging your legs and not so much on the timing of your hands, you can always leave your hands in a set position and just focus on getting your legs and your timing ready and just firing from that position. And that allows you to also adjust on balls on the higher part of the zone. So one of the things that I recognized here is just her hand positioning. You can see that she kind of sets her hands high. As she loads back, her hands kind of drop a little bit. And then now it changes from her hitting point from being here, which this is her kind of her set point, her stance. This is her load point. And then you can see I'm not even looking at where that ball is yet. I'm just focusing on how she's loading. In fact, let's open up this draw tool here. So I'm gonna paint this green because, I'm gonna paint this green right here. Let's try to get this going right here. Sorry, I can't draw. This right here is a great set position for her hands. I usually recommend this for a lot of the hitters. Maybe a little bit more relaxed, maybe a little bit lower, but anywhere slightly elevated or slightly on the top half of your zone is usually where I recommend for a dynamic hitter, not only just being on the set side, being ready to go, but also just being able to hit different balls in the zone. So whether it's a high ball, low ball, inside ball, outside pitch, whatever the case is. But as Angie gets ready to hit, you can see now that changes. So now her set position is here. This is where her foot's down. That ball is already halfway towards her on the front side, on the front toss. But it's not so much the issue of timing because I'm also not flipping that ball so much. But now it went from her body being able to fire from this position to now this is where her hands are firing right now. Let's try to paint that on. Let's try to get another one right here. Let's try to redo that circle a little bit. That's a terrible circle. But now her hands are firing from here. And then you can see just on this inside ball right here, everything is slightly delayed. Just not being able to have the distance between her point of contact and the ball. Right, so look where her hands are set up. At this point right here too. So let's move this over. Where her hands are. Her hands leave the zone. This is where she is in her hitting position. And I'm just only looking at her hands. Right, you can tell like her legs are not even in a strong position yet. Boom. Beats to the ball. Let's try to go to the pitch where she actually hit the ball at 62 exit velo. You know, Angie hits the ball hard. She produces a lot of exit velocity on her balls. So the question is, you know, with a little bit of strength and conditioning as well early in the off season. But the goal is always, how can we set up our hitting mechanics, or is there a way that we can set up our hitting mechanics to a point where we can hit the ball optimally, right? How can we hit the ball the hardest? So this is the hardest hit ball that she has that round, and it's kind of like the same thing. You couldn't even, you already can see it. You can see the launch position of her hands. I just feel like if she gets a little bit more further back, again, let's do the circle. If she could get her hands a little bit further back here, she'll get a lot more separation with her hands, right? Like that separation between that front hip and the back side. You call it a little bit of more counter rotation just to create a little bit more torque with that rotation. But you know, she barrels up the ball well, and it's kind of scary to see if maybe she's able to get her hands a little bit, maybe a little bit less motion, her hands a little bit further back, she could get a little bit more consistent with contact. Because the reality of it is, you know, when you're starting to face elite velocity, all this motion here is just more time that you have to make up for. Boom. So ideally this is where her hands are starting. And this is where her hands are dropping to, right before her launch position. So it's another video.